This is Trend Following Radio, where great thinking comes alive. Nobel Prize winners, legendary traders, best-selling authors, and the pros that know what drive us irrational human beings. I am your host, Michael Covel. Not filtered, raw, honest. That's my passion. That extremely cool song is courtesy of circa 1960s, 70s Thailand. Don't ask where I found it, why it's in here. Well, why is it in here? It's in here because I think it represents, for today's modern society, a certain bit of sanity. Because that damn crazy pop song from Thailand, to me, sounds more sane than current debate about whatever the main issue of the day is. That could be trading, the stock market, politics, relationships. I think we have an efficiency problem. Efficiency in our thinking. Because if we can't even get the damn thinking correct, the efficient way to think. Now, you are more than welcome to go sit out in the desert, watch the flowers bloom, and have that nice feeling. I get it. I've been there. I've done that. Okay, I understand. That's not my point. I'm talking about the key core matters that are at our survival. Survival, achievement, success. And I think efficiency is the real issue. Let me explain. I always start by wondering, what is the goal? What is the plan to get to the goal? What's the most damn efficient path to get to the goal? And I think perhaps this is most critical. Is the goal realistically obtainable, or is the goal a lie? Because if you can't honestly answer those questions, and you are just deluding yourself with internal happy talk, what's the point? You're never going to get anywhere. There's never going to be a legacy. There's not going to be a damn thing. Your tombstone is going to be blank. That sounds very forceful, right? From the top of the mountain, the God giving the forceful view, let me tell you. No, that's not what I mean. We've only got one life. And until they figure out this life extension stuff, we can all bullshit ourselves, or we can make it a habit to get absolutely efficient. Because right now, it sure looks like with the explosion of constant media, I would not even call it social media. It's just constant media. And constant media is CNN on, CNBC on, Fox on, MSNBC on, Asia One on, The Wall Street Journal, Facebook, Twitter. This is constant media. And if you don't have a toolkit for cutting through it all, an efficient toolkit, again, how are you supposed to find success? How are you supposed to find achievement? I might save this aspect of my thinking for another podcast, but I think it is also terribly important to think about the demographic. Younger people are being fed the constant media much more so than those of us that can remember pre-internet. I'm starting to see an avalanche of 20, 30-something men that can't think. They literally can't think. And as Scott Adams has pointed out, of Dilbert fame, there's a certain feminization of men going on. And don't get me wrong, I'm not talking about any kind of LGBTQ, whatever new letter of the alphabet has been added. And I sure as hell don't care what you are or what you call yourself are. I am a defender of liberty. I just wonder who makes up these letters that get added on every week, because Q was just added on recently and I had no freaking clue what Q was. But I do see an issue with the younger generations. I see an issue with the ability to think. I see an issue with men in particular, where they seem to be only attached to their feelings, which is generally something, and again, this is not some big statement. We all know that men often end up being more analytical and women often end up having more of a capacity to feel. This is generally well known. It does not mean that I'm making some kind of blanket statement. There is a bell curve, there are edges, but there is definitely a distinct issue going on right now with younger generations from this constant media, and there is a distinct issue going on with men letting go of their analytical side and only going to feelings. And we all know if we end up with a world where everyone just feels, where everyone just needs, and there's not a freaking number behind anything, there is no analysis, no analytical behind anything, we will be at absolutely chaos in society. So today, for a little food for thought, I want to pick examples, topical examples, to get you thinking about efficiency. How do you efficiently look at, solve anything? Number one, my first one I want to start with today. New York City Mayor de Blasio says the dominance of the 1% must end. That is a very popular political opinion today. I would say there's at least 50% of the population, whatever population you are in, believes this to be true. The dominance of the 1% must end, the 1% being the wealthiest 1%, those people that either created and achieved, or perhaps it was an inheritance, like the Walmart family. There's nothing wrong with an inheritance. I would never spend 1 second of my life player hating on somebody that accepted money from their parent or family. That's life. And let me remind you about life. It's not fair, and it never will be. So get over yourself. Back to de Blasio's point. The 1% must end. That leaves me with the efficient question to ask. How is that done exactly? Efficiently, how do we, if this is even a worthy goal, how do you end the dominance of the 1%? It's very simple. You must take their money and companies, or you must exterminate them, kill them, get rid of them. I repeat, you take their money or you kill them. Because if you don't take one of those two options, explain how their dominance will end. I'm just applying a little bit of logic here, trying to use some critical thinking. Somebody says, a major politician, the 1% must end. Okay, how the f do you do that? You kill them or you take their money. Is there a third option? I'm having a hard time imagining what it is. If there's not a third option, and again, I'm just trying to be efficient here. I'm trying to cut to the chase and strip away the emotions and strip away the feelings. Because for this particular issue, it doesn't really make a difference. We just want to, I don't want to, but let's just assume for argument's sake, we just want to eliminate the 1%. Now, when you break it down to those two options, now what? Most people don't get there. Most people keep it at the feeling level. The feeling level is, there's too many rich people, we must end that. The execution is never discussed. If the execution is never discussed, or, which is what I would argue, if the execution is impossible, then that gets back to the original statement. The 1% dominance must end. So what's the real purpose? Again, I'm just trying to get you to use some critical thinking to walk through these issues. I'm not really even trying to tear apart some political hornet's nest. But clearly, a politician that says the 1% must end, he knows what the two options are. So you're left with, once you walk it through and analyze the statement, you're left with that the original statement is bullshit. You know it, and I know it, whatever your political stripe. Now, before I catch some grief for picking on a liberal New York City mayor, let me pick on somebody who calls themselves a conservative, Donald Trump. For the life of me, and perhaps it was because he was inexperienced, perhaps he was caught up in the moment, perhaps it was because it was right after a big terror attack in France. I believe it was after the France terror attack. I've lost track of these terror attacks because they don't end. Back to my main point. Trump saying he would ban all Muslims coming into America doesn't work. How would that work? Does your passport say you're a Muslim? Maybe in some countries it does, but I don't think it does. So that leaves me with thinking about places like Singapore or Malaysia that each have Muslim populations. And to take apart Singapore, for example, what in the world does Singapore have to do with Syria? Again, I'm trying to get efficient here. Trump was not being efficient with his blanket ban. If Trump would have come out and he would have said, I think we should ban people from Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan, until some point in the future, I'm not so sure anybody would have really disagreed with him. On the margins, there might have been somebody, but he would have won the issue. Many of these controversial statements, when you start to tear them apart, critically think them through, try and make it efficient, they're exposed for what they are. Now, Trump was clearly trying to get people that are scared to see that he has a solution. But his solution never would have worked as proposed. Now, since I have a trading perspective, let me bring some of this efficiency in thinking into the investment world. Stock markets in the US, all-time highs. Many making political arguments that America has never been better. It is at the top of the pinnacle. Now let's efficiently break that apart. Stock markets are at all-time highs in the US. That is an absolute fact. It is a good thing if you're long. It's probably a little scary if you don't have an exit strategy. But how does that necessarily connect to the overall economy? I don't know that it does. On the flip side, if you are analyzing the overall economy and you want to make the case that the overall economy is in great shape, therefore stock market justifies your position, see, this is where my head starts to explode. Let's take a step back. Let's be efficient on some of the data points. 50% of Americans don't have a dollar in the bank, not $1. 50% of Americans are on welfare to get through the daily grind of their life. That's not healthy. That is not healthy in any way, shape, or form. So you look at some key statistics like that, and I should also add labor participation is at like 40-year lows. So you have a low unemployment rate, but everyone stopped working. On top of that, there's no interest income. So look at all this information out here. And as an efficient guy, I want to look at the data. I want to try and think that these data points can add some color to everything. And I think if you're looking at the overall health of the American economy, the average American, if 50% are broke, if 50% are on welfare, if labor participation is at 40-year lows, and there's no interest income, well, that sure as hell looks messy to me. That looks messy as hell. But stock markets are at all-time highs. The efficient person is looking at these issues and cutting through the noise and starting to say to themselves, hold on, things look pretty good. The stock market's at all-time highs. Here's where it gets even trickier. For those of you that are fans of Nassim Taleb, what do stocks at all-time highs really mean? It just means they're getting ready at some point in time to take a 50% clip. And what I mean is a 50% drawdown. What I mean is a 50% drop. What I mean is a stock crash. I sure as hell can't predict a stock crash, but since there has been two 50% S&P drops in the last 16 years, and we are at all-time highs, and those economic statistics that I just pointed out are not exactly so rosy, it's easy as hell to imagine that a black swan will bite one day. And if the S&P is over 2,000 and it takes a 50% hit, it's easy to imagine it going to 1,000 or 1,200. And if it does, then you're below the highs that were set in the year 2000. I'm not being a fearmonger. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm just trying to get you to look at this in an efficient way, to cut through the noise, to cut through the emotion, to cut through the feelings, and just say, what is? What are we facing? I have no earthly idea what will happen. But when you sit down and you pause and you objectively analyze everything that is taking place, you get a different conclusion than you might get from just listening to any political voice on the left or the right. Another great example that I think is very efficient. Efficient in the sense that if you want to know how to get from point A to point B, what's the best way to go? It is very well known that China has pulled almost 700 million people out of poverty from 1981 to 2010. It reduced extreme poverty from 84% in 1980 to 10%. How? A communist government got out of the way and they let the trading and merchant culture embedded in China take over. It's never the government lifting the masses out of misery. It's people left alone. Oh, are there some cultures today with no clue at all? You bet. So let's efficiently break that apart. How does a communist country basically nail poverty, nail misery with blinding speed in a few decades? And if you look at America, we've spent who knows how many trillions trying to end poverty, and we have failed. The communist government in China until the early 1980s was a mess. It took reforms. It took the government saying, wow, this isn't working. Let's go a different direction. And the free market reforms, letting that naturally merchant selling trading class in China go crazy. Crazy in a good way. And boom, literally within a few decades, China's at the top and will surely be the biggest economy in the near future, if not already. Now in America, right now, we love these debates about what government can do. At least half of America thinks the most efficient way for Americans that don't have, those 50% that don't have a dime, those 50% that are on welfare, they think that the government is the most efficient way to get them there. I say, where's the evidence? Just like I would say, where's the evidence on a particular trading strategy? I can look at trend following trading strategies and I can see decades and decades of performance over many practitioners, all different types of geographic areas, traders and investors that had no connection to each other, track record after track record after track record, correlated performance after correlated performance, big events happening where all of these traders make the same money, or a losing month where they all lose the same amount of money. Not necessarily the exact amount, but you can see that eyeball correlation. So I see the data with trend following trading. I look for the data with these other strategies, and it's hard to see. Oh, I can see Warren Buffett's data for sure. But where the hell are the other Warren Buffetts? There's one Warren Buffett, and I salute him. But you're not him. And I don't know where the hell the other Warren Buffetts are that are correlated to the main Warren Buffett. I sure would like to see some others, but we're not going to because he is the outlier. He is the extreme winner. He's the guy with the strategy set in place that will never be replicated like he did it again. Which brings me back to the China, America, efficient debate. What's the most efficient way to get more people into prosperity and more people into success? Let's look at the data. Let's don't just guess. Let's just don't have feelings. Let's don't do group hugs. Let's not do kumbaya. Let's don't do circle jerks. I'm not really sure what a circle jerk has to do with it, but basically, to me, in my mind, thinking that an elected official is going to be my path to prosperity, that is figuratively a circle jerk. It absolutely is. It's nonsensical. There's no evidence for it. I want efficiency here. I want to bring this down to the data. And even though I've told you in this conversation, it's not about emotions and feelings, and I'm not trying to be emotional in a way where I'm trying to just use my emotions to try and make an argument with you. I'm trying to bring the data down. I just get excited. You know how this is. But when we look at the data for China, clearly getting out of the way is the most efficient way to let the most people win. I mentioned earlier in this conversation, the millennial generation, Generation Snowflake. Now, of course, if you're out there and you're a mover or a shaker in your 20s and 30s, and you're not really a part of Generation Snowflake, that sure as hell don't get mad at me, but you know a ton of these people in this generation are walking around with this kumbaya mindset where data is not relevant. Feelings are relevant. I say F that. That's my whole point here. I want everyone to approach, and again, this could be relationships too. This could be friendships. Efficiency. You've got to cut through all the smoke and mirrors. You've got to cut through the haze. You've got to get to a point where you're not wasting your time. I said this at the start. I want to leave a legacy. I want you to leave a legacy. You leave a legacy by letting go of the group. Now, there's plenty of people out there that will tell you you only get ahead by having other people help you. Of course, people will help you along the way. But if you're not helping yourself, if you're not taking care of yourself efficiently, with all due speed to get to the goal, it's all for naught. It's not going to work. So if somebody says, yes, we all need help from other people, therefore the government. No. It starts with you. If it doesn't start with you, your tombstone will say nothing. Absolutely nothing. It will be blank. Who the hell wants a blank tombstone? I want to end with a classic story of efficiency. Perhaps you've heard this before. It's been attributed to Milton Friedman, but I don't think for sure it was Friedman. It doesn't really make a hill of beans difference to me. Let me read. Economics writer Stephen Moore wrote in 2009 that he used to visit with Milton Friedman and his wife, and together they would dine at a favorite Chinese restaurant. Quoting Moore, at one of our dinners, Milton recalled traveling to an Asian country in the 1960s and visiting a work site where a new canal was being built. He was shocked to see that instead of modern tractors and earth movers, the workers had shovels. He asked, why were there so few machines? The government bureaucrat explained, quote, you don't understand. This is a jobs program, end quote. To which Milton replied, quote, oh, I thought you were trying to build a canal. If it's jobs you want, then you should give these workers spoons, not shovels, end quote. And that sums up efficiency. We're not all on a team. We're by ourselves ultimately. Oh yes, we got friends and family and we got business associates. But if you want to make something big happen, if you really want to leave a legacy, it depends on you. And the most efficient way to get there requires critical thinking, requires a certain amount of logic. And if you regularly use logical fallacies in your debates and your arguments, you're never going to get there. And if you don't know what the hell a logical fallacy is, go Google it. My takeaway is simple. Be as damn efficient as you possibly can, or just go get a spoon. You want to go through life slow? Get a spoon. Friedman's dead on about that.
I see a time when those awake will understand how to make money in up, down, and surprise markets. Whether new trader or experienced, college student or financial advisor, protecting against a crash or just trying to make a lot of money, trend following offers everyone an answer in uncertain times. To get started immediately, send me an email, michael@covel.com. I will send you the right trend following steps to take along with my free video. But if you want to buy and hold, trust the government and trust Wall Street, this is absolutely not for you.